the intro. So, okay, you and Manchester Orchestra almost didn't make the show in Kansas City. Yeah, because there's that giant snowstorm.
Yeah, weren't really expecting it, and so after the St. Louis show, they were like, "Hey, just so you know, there's a big storm coming, so give yourself plenty of time." And how far is that drive normal? Like 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, probably 4. If you guys are doing a bus, probably 5. Yeah.
We're not a bus, but we
Oh,
are
okay,
in
then yeah,
I
4.
wish.
Yeah.
But they said it's gonna be a drive, and so it took us like 10 hours because of the storm.
Jesus,
Yeah, it sucked.
that
It
is
sucked.
nuts. Yeah, because we drove from Lawrence, my girlfriend and I, and she drove. God bless her. I didn't drive. She drove. We were like
Yeah.
a car spun out in the middle of the interstate. Like there
Oh,
was. I mean, we got a ton of snow. Um,
yeah. It sucked, but we made it.
yes, and put on a hell of a show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, like I remember during your set, we were like, "All right, like let's do this opening act." Because I mean, my whole existence right now is the opening act. So I'm like, I like the job of the opener is very
Right.
distinct. So I was like, I like seeing the opening acts, and we're like, this guy's really fucking good. And then
Oh,
I don't know what
thanks.
you call it in music, if like in comedy you call it like the feature or the middle, like the second guy.
Yeah.
It's like the second band went on, and we were like, not bad, but can we get more of the first guy? We're like, shit, they
Oh,
should have.
thanks.
No, that was awesome. So,
Thanks.
by the way, I need to actually do an intro to the podcast. Um,
Is my audio recording?
yeah, no, your audio, video, it's all good. And then the video is going to be a little, um, like it's going to look shitty while we're talking, but then when I actually export the file, it'll look
It
good.
looks good. Awesome.
Yep. No, so welcome everybody to another episode of the On Their Way Up podcast. This is a podcast about up and coming entertainers and the up and coming days of established entertainers. My name is Spencer Gordman. I'm a stand up comedian, or trying to be one at that. And today I have a very, very special guest. This guy is a Nashville based Michigan native and is one of the best up and coming musicians in the world. Don't believe me? It came with stats. He's got 3 EPs, and his collection of singles have recently eclipsed 60 million all-time streams, which is borderline an asinine number, uh, and 500,000 average or 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify alone. Let's see, he's also open for bands like Mount Joy, Lumineers, Manchester Orchestra, like we were talking about a little earlier. Also been at Lollapalooza, and a ton of other festivals. But wait, there's more. He is starting his press tour, or when this comes out, he'll probably be towards the tail end of it. For he's got some new music coming out. He's got his fourth EP. It will never be the same. Comes out March 31st, wherever you listen to music. The first single, Super Glue, I believe is out now. Uh, which is definitely a song you got to go check out. Very, very, just the whole EP is just music. I was walking around campus
You're
listening
too
to it
nice.
today.
You are too nice to me.
No,
This
no,
is you're
I'm
be-
like, it's fun music. I was walking around like fucking, it's a shitty day, got a
uh,
pep in my step. It is good music. You got to go check it out.
thanks,
Uh,
man.
and then also the It Will Never Be the Same Again tour, going to 21 cities in like 32 days, something crazy like that, all around the country. Going to be in Kansas City, middle of April. It's kind of going to go through end of March to end of April. All right. With or I guess intro aside now, thank you for being on the podcast, Jason Singer, better known as Mr. I was gonna say
Mr.
Mr.
Michigander.
Michigander.
I
It's
like that. That's
Michigander, but I
it.
was gonna be like Mr. Michigander, but I didn't want to like throw people off. So like, who the fuck is Michi? Jason, thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Thanks for the nice intro. That was too kind.
Well,
Too kind.
we don't do all these things for people to ignore them. No, I mean it's
Mm-mm.
listen.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for creating all this great music. The musicians I've had on here, I've had a few who are like prominent. And I also have like buddies of mine and that kind of thing. But the few musicians I've had on here, it's like, hey, you guys make awesome music for me to listen to on my, drive to Kansas City every, while I'm going to open mics and walking around campus. So it's like the least I can say is thank you for making this great music for me to listen to.
Well, thanks for caring. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course. So, it's podcast. I kind of like to go to the roots, the beginning a little bit. So, I know you grew up in Michigan. uh, listening to parents' vinyls, had a few of those. You're pirating CDs from the library. Uh, when do you think you first went from, oh, I like listening to music, to like that infatuation with it?
That's a good question. I I think that was just kind of what me and my friends did. Is we just listened to a lot of music and traded a lot of files from like that we stole from the internet or from the library. Um, that was kind of the thing we always just did, and it was just becoming like a little obsessive and trying to find out like who's the next who's the next like artist that we need to be on the lookout for. And it was kind of this elitist attitude of trying to find like who's the band that's coming out of the UK that no one knows about yet, but if I know about, then I feel cool. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff. A lot of digging on iTunes and taking the little free song cards from. So like Starbucks used to have these little cards called like the free song of the week or whatever,
Oh yeah.
and you get these little cards. You could download it. It was awesome. I had tons of those, and it was just kind of like uh, a collection. Like we literally traded like thumb drives with music on them to each other, and that's how it started. Because like the internet was kind of new, not everybody had the internet, and but we lived in like a digital world, and
Right.
so it was all CDs and thumb drives.
Well, and probably having friends who had that similar attitude of, let's all try to find the best music and one up each other.
Right. It was always that. It was always that.
Well,
Trying to
that's
figure out who was better. Yeah.
well, because like my my whole growing up, like no 12-year-old is like a stand-up comedy nerd. Like
Mhm.
no 11-year-old's gonna be like, dude, have you heard about Richard Pryor? It's like our
Right.
grandparents know about, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yes, totally.
that was very much me growing up. But then once I started hanging out with comedians, I was like, oh my God, I can talk about stand-up with these people and have that shared knowledge. It makes it so much more enjoyable.
Were there like a couple comedians that you were like when you first heard that you were like, "Whoa, this is kind of what I want to do."
I
That made it seem like accessible.
Well, I was even gonna tell you, or I was gonna ask you the same question, but I can answer it. So I don't
I'm
I
I'm
feel like I've
hijacking your podcast. I'm asking the questions now
oh, I
to
love it.
you. Yeah.
I love it. Uh, oh God, what was that movie? But yeah, um I would say so. The one person who really influenced me a lot, and this is gonna sound corny as shit, but it's Jerry Seinfeld,
Hmm.
because his joke writing is so perfect. Like, it's just, it's not incredibly flowerful. He doesn't take you on this whole journey like these
Right.
other comedians, or it's but he just takes a topic and just set up, punch, set up, punch all the way through, breaks each element of it down, and it's really a master class in like how to just write a joke.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and his show
He's so good.
comedians and yeah, I mean, there's a reason like he sold out theaters and arenas for decades, and
Hmm.
then it was his show comedians in cars getting coffee that I was just watching it all the time, like on repeat. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be a comedian. Like, this is the lifestyle they're describing, the mentality they're describing is who I want to be. And so that was when I was 14. And then I first got on stage when I was 16. So I'd say Seinfeld
Cool.
was a really big influence.
I'm a big. It sounds so stupid to say, but I'm a big comedy person, nerd, and like listen to a lot of those
Dude,
podcasts and stuff.
break it
Have
down.
have you ever watched Crashing?
Oh, Crashing. I have watched a couple episodes of it.
Yeah, and like just stuff like that. But were there for me like there was artists who like made it seem accessible, like that was like a real attainable job. Like there was like a band called
Yeah.
Mike Maines and the Branches, and like Flint Eastwood. And these are like early on where I was like, wait, they're in a band and they're doing what I could do, and
Were they
seeing
like in your
that was kind of
area?
like those were in my area, but like before that,
Mm,
and like I was going to these local shows, but before that, even I remember like me and my friends were out in like hanging out at the like his house, and his brother came home with a VHS tape, and he said, "This is a band called the White Stripes. They're from Detroit, which is like 2.5 hours away from us." And he was
yeah.
just showing us, and they were like a local band at the time,
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean, they were. I mean, little large. I mean, obviously, they were like they had a following and stuff, and things were different back then. But there wasn't like quantifiable. Like they had 20,000 Instagram followers, but like
Right.
they were selling out shows in Detroit and probably other places too. But like seeing that, seeing like the White Stripes on a bootleg VHS shaky camera made me want to be a music. I was like that made it in my mind made it attainable for me being like, "Oh, they're not from New York City or London or Chicago or Los Angeles. They're
Yeah.
from Detroit," which at the time, I mean, was pretty rough. And so to see that happen made it feel really just made it feel really attainable and cool. And I was yeah, were there like smaller comedians for you that were
Yeah.
like Kyle Kinane or something out of Chicago?
Oh
Or
yeah.
like where you were like that guy is like he's like a smaller comedian. He's like doing shows in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. And
Kyle
like I
Kinane,
don't know.
you know your
Yeah,
stuff. I
I know my
love it,
stuff.
dude. I love
I
it.
love Kyle. Yeah.
Uh, you know Matt Bronger?
Yeah.
He's kind of like, so I've seen Matt Bronger. I'm actually hosting my first weekend at the Comedy Club of Kansas City for like a nationally touring like headliner.
Oh,
Um,
amazing.
it'll have passed when this comes out, but it's going to be first weekend of March. So I'm
Cool.
very excited for that. But like, I I still think I think comedians in cars, and for the reason of he breaks, like he asks them about, you know, where they got their start, all the hell gigs they did, all the open mics. And then I was a big podcast fan. And so I'd listen to podcasts, same thing, where they'd have, you know, other comedians on, they'd talk about the open mic days, or they'd talk about, you know, a lot of them are from like, you know, the Midwestern cities like Chicago. There's a guy, Jeremiah Watkins, who's from Kansas City,
Mm.
you know, and
Is that
so hearing,
interesting? Yeah.
yeah. Oh, you're saying?
You know, you're like Brooks Wheelan. He's from Iowa, right?
Yeah.
But like all these like smaller comedians, and I guess he was on SNL, so that's pretty big. But it's just funny to think like all these like that makes it seem like it's a real job, and it kind of demystifies it for you. And it's
Yeah.
always kind of it's kind of and like there's always like that upper echelon of like people who are working in the field who are like the Seinfelds or like the U2
Right.
or like the Rolling Stones, where you think like that seems insane to me, or I don't know how I could ever get to that. But it does like I've kind of come to terms with like this fact like I love my job and I love that I get to like go play for a club in Chicago for 500 people and
Yeah.
like that feels cool. But I also like will play to like 150 people in like Kansas City or like like that's kind of the job and it's just kind of like demystified the whole thing for me. Even when we get to open for like larger bands like Manchester, like they're the most normal, kindest, just regular guys who will just have something special when they're together and the songs that they make. And it was really cool to be around that too, because that like demystified the whole like they're a rock band in a tour in a bus. It's like they're
Yeah.
just like normal guys who are FaceTiming their kids
Right.
backstage. Like that's the job when you're like 35 years old, and um, it's just so interesting. Like when I was in high school, I thought I'd be like selling out arenas. Like I legitimately in my brain thought like, by the time I turn 20 or 21, I'll probably be on an arena tour
Yeah. Right. Easily.
easily. But like knowing now, like realistically, the Michigander ever headlining arenas pretty slim. And if I'm
Yeah.
wrong,
Right.
you can use this quote someday. But it's like it's pretty slim. But if we got to a place where we're doing 1,000 tickets a night, that feels pretty good.
Yeah, we're gonna hope that that quote ages poorly. Like if that quote
I
ages
want that
poorly,
quote to
that's
age
gonna be,
poorly. Yes,
yeah.
I want
You
it
want
to
to be on
be
the
horrible.
you want to be on the wrong
Horrible.
side of history on that quote.
Yes, yes. Only that quote.
Yeah, but yeah, just that one. Uh, yeah, I think the other thing for me when I start, because like again, like I'd never been to a comedy show, I'd never been to a comedy club. I was too young to go to any of those
Right. Even
when I
get in.
started. Yeah, so like even just to get into the bars to do open mics, I had to like go with my dad and that kind of thing. Then get to
Really.
know the bartender, so I go by myself because I wasn't old
Oh, that's
enough,
so
you know. And so I
that's so cool.
really, the only thing I'd reference to was like, and I think podcasts really did help a lot because a lot of comedians, like the stories that they tell, you know, are from the open mic days and the just hosting or featuring at comedy clubs and working a day job. And it made it go, oh, so all these people who are at like the height of stand-up comedy started, you know in this very meager beginning of, they're poor and they're working two other jobs and doing stand-up and all this shit, and then moved to New York from wherever they were, moved to LA. It just went like, oh, you can kind of do this at a you don't have to just start and then go immediately to MSG, you know
Right. You got to do the
yeah,
groundlings.
yeah, exactly.
Is
And
that
then
something you want to do? Is something like go into like the groundlings or like UCB, or you think that's
uh
like a pat? I don't know. I don't know how it works.
so it's
It's so much not clear. It's less. It's a lot harder than being a musician. I think.
I I don't know a ton about the path of a musician. I think it's a little similar, but it's just on a smaller scale. Like that's kind of always been the thing, is like when you go throughout history, take out the past 5 years and go back the last 50 years beyond that, and there have been like four comedians that ever did Red Rocks, but they have music there every week. So I
Yes,
just
you
feel
can do
like,
music anywhere. It's hard to do comedy anywhere.
yeah, and you can, street performing outside. You can do it, 2 in the afternoon, and
Right.
have people there. But comedy is very context specific for it to be successful. Like I
Yeah,
always say,
that's
like
true.
comedy is a nighttime sport.
That's good. Yeah, that's
So I,
true.
I just think there's less um, opportunities in every city to do stand up. Um, but I think it's roughly the same. You have to develop a certain amount of time you can do on stage. I think getting an online following is a little bit different, just because you don't really put out singles or EPs. Uh,
Yeah,
it's more on
that's
social
hard.
media.
Right.
But then it's a keep putting out content, develop a fan base on social media, and that people follow your content. And then if you can work at like relatively prominent music venues in your area opening for bands, then maybe a band will have you travel and open for them, and doing
Yeah,
comedy festivals. And so I wouldn't say it's too dissimilar, but I think in music there's maybe more paths, both as far as quantity and variety.
totally, totally.
So you started like the first band you were in. I read like it was just kind of like a collection of your friends, all like, oh, I can play this and I can play that. So what did or I guess, how did you guys connect and decide like, oh, we could play together? Was it that same group of friends that you were all sharing music with?
Well, that was like my first little band, and it was like me, my friend Aaron, and my friend Spencer, and we just played music together for a year or so, mostly covers and anything that would let us play. And then that kind of dissolved when things got a little more like close into college. This was like probably my senior year, and I
Okay.
was like, I'm gonna be a musician. I don't want to do anything but music. And I don't think anybody else really saw that as like an option, and that's fine. I think like the safer route was like, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna get a degree in marketing or business or whatever,
But
and I'll
by the
still
way, I'm currently going to college degree in marketing, so watch your
yes.
tone with me, young man.
Yeah, okay, sorry. But there was all these like there's all these they want to do the things, and that's totally fine. But it kind of made the band thing not really a thing. And so from that point on, I kind of like made it up in my mind that like whatever I do moving forward, it's going to be is going to be able to happen if I don't have anybody else. So it's from
Interesting.
now from then it was like I can't ever well, I there was a song by Fleet Foxes called Helplessness Blues, and the lyric was, what good is it to, and I was always like bummed about like not having a band and not having these people and all this stuff. And
Right.
I made it I made it like in my mind I was always bummed about it and like letting it dictate my path and my future for arguably too long,
Mm.
which I regret a lot. But the lyric from the Fleet Foxes song was, "What good is it to sing helplessness blues why should I wait for anyone else? And I just heard that on a CD that I bought at Target. And
We're all good
I was like,
revelations start.
yeah. And so I was like, that's a good line. And that literally changed my life because I was like, I'm not going to wait on anybody else and no hard feelings to anybody, but I want to be able to make the music I want to make, like on the terms I want to make it and when I want to do it and how I want to do it. And I don't want to wait anybody else. And that's going to require me to grow as a person before I can do that. I need to learn how to sing better. I need to learn how to do all that stuff. So I was just playing open mic nights and like playing bar sets for years without
Yeah,
anybody watching, which is like a really cool thing that I don't know how possible is anymore because everyone is watching. And if you're starting a band, you kind of like have to be in front of people. And so I just had this luxury of like playing 3 hour bar sets, with an acoustic guitar at a bar, like in a college town near me,
wow.
And so doing that and just getting paid like $300. So I was like, that's a ton of money for a weekend for me. No
Oh yeah.
rent. I was like 21, $300. This was like forever. This was 10 years ago. And I was like, I'm just going to do this. And then eventually over 10 years ago. Wow. It's crazy. So I was just gonna do this whole thing, and eventually I built it up to like I'm gonna find people. I moved to another city. I found these musicians who I could like work with, and they like would play my songs. They were just my friends, and now it's kind of grown into a thing where it's like I have the same couple guys playing with me, but still like at its core, I'm Michigander. But the drummer in the band now, Aaron, has been my best friend since like seventh or eighth grade,
Wow.
and he was actually in that little band thing I did, and he was one of the buddies who like went off to college and then like was like, okay, I'm actually gonna do this music thing, and so now he just moved down here to Nashville, and like it's really cool to see that like being being what it is now because of uh um just like where things are, and I'm glad that I didn't. I'm just like that's always my advice is like don't wait on someone else to make things happen for yourself because it's not going to happen.
Dude.
At
Well,
some
and
point,
then
you have to be patient, but like
yeah.
you don't like if you got to get off the ground.
Well, and then
Yeah.
the weird thing is then it does like the mentality you have to get into. I was thinking about that. Literally, I was driving back to my apartment today
Oh.
of when I wanted to work at the comedy club at Kansas City because that's some comedy clubs are more comic friendly than others and easier to work at. And this is one of those that the owner is did stand up for a couple decades and is very comic friendly. We hang out there, pop in the back of shows and guest spots and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking for a guest spot. Let me do 5 minutes, and finally gave me one, and one turned to three. Do you know Adam Ray?
No.
He's a LA based comedian. Um, Fairly big draw. He got like 180 people in there, but I gotta do a guest spot for him, which was really cool because I've been a fan of his for a few years now. And
Cool.
then he finally okayed me to start hosting, and then I almost fucked it up because I was like being too bothersome about hosting, and then almost squandered those chances. So I apologized, and hey, I got bad information from somebody who was like trying to help me, and it was clear. And so now it ended up smoothing itself over. But for a long time, I was like, you know what? He's not going to put me on shit. He's not going to do this. If I'm not going to get these club opportunities, uh, I'm just gonna put my head down and work silently, and people
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden 2 years down the road are gonna be like, when the hell did Spencer get 35, 40 solid minutes? It's
Yeah. Is it
and I
hard to
was like,
develop like a type five?
uh, I'd say early on, yes, but I don't know. I think it just depends. Like for for me, I can do probably 20 to 25 minutes,
Uh-huh.
um, which I'd say for 20 like minutes that I'm like really really comfortable with, and then another 5 or 6 that I'm like I could throw this in the middle and have a pretty good set with. And I feel like at
Mm-hmm.
about 4 years in, that's fairly common. But then at this point, it's like just slap together 2 bits, and I have it all timed out, so I have every joke and how long it is, so I can go like, okay, that's 1:30, and that's 3:15,
Oh
and that's
wow.
4:45. So I've
Man,
made it
I would
easy on
need
myself.
Yeah, I've always thought like every year I put a goal to myself, like I want to do 5 minutes
Oh, of
of
stand up?
comedy.
Oh,
Yeah,
do it.
I don't think I ever could. I don't even know where to begin. I like
Uh,
love I Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I could learn it, but I've always been like I'll just stick to. I got my lane. I'll just stick it with it.
I mean, Blake Griffin, started doing stand up a few years ago
Oh, really?
and hops on whenever he can. But so, uh, I think because I've always wondered, and I've heard people have that conversation. Like Bill Burr had Wolfgang Van Halen on, and they had this conversation. But like the difference between like creating music and creating stand up has always been really, really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because like, where do
There's a,
you? I guess I ask the questions, young man. Like I'm fucking. So where do you draw your when you're writing lyrics? Like where does that inkling of an idea come from for you?
a lot of different things. Like there's just sometimes like a conversation. There'll be like a line in the conversation. I'm like, boom, that's something. I just throw it in my phone, and then who know like, and for me now it's a little different than it's ever been. Is like I tend to like write with other people, and I
Nice.
tend to like kind of like work a lot more collaboratively with like people that aren't necessarily in the band. So it's like I will write with like tomorrow I'm writing with like two people who are in another band, and we're gonna write a song for me. And
Interesting.
yeah, so I will have like some ideas I'll bring, and then which are in my phone, like whether it be like I got this melody that I'm or this groove or like this. Sometimes I just build out like 8 bars, like on my system, like
Yeah.
with my piano and stuff. Like this is kind of the vibe, and then from there, like I'm like, and I also have this what I want. I want to talk about this at some point. I want to write some songs about like having no clue what you're doing in life, or having some songs like that you write about like where you're pissed off at somebody. So you want to write a song about that,
Mhm.
and maybe you have something in your journal or in your notes app that might trigger that. And so I am at a point where I'm like at a point where I want to like write with other people because it's more fun, and I think it makes my songs even better than I could, because like people are usually better when they have the help of other people most of the time. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's too many people who disagree with that. So that's kind of where it is now, and that's like it's a lot more fun to get in a room with like one or two other people and just say like here's what I got, especially when someone's like really good with like a computer and processing like the musical things I'm trying to create.
Oh yeah.
And then like that song just sits on a hard drive, and then eventually when it comes time to like record a collection of songs, we will record them, choose which ones we like the best, and put it
So
out.
then how do you balance keeping that like, I am Michigander, like Michigander is I, like the kind of soul
Yeah, the moniker
creative
solo
control.
thing.
Yeah, while balancing, having uh long-term full-time band members or writing with other people. Where's that balance at?
That's a good question. Um, as far as like the creation of the music goes, is like I am like the chef, I guess.
Okay.
It's like when there's like that sounds so pretentious, but I'm like the chef, and I have my kitchen staff, but I am the one who is the chef, who is in charge of the creation of what comes out of that kitchen.
Right.
Like there's all these famous chefs like Sean Brock and all these people who are like famous chefs, and they're known for their restaurant, and I'm known for my music. But they Sean Brock is nothing without the people he has working in the restaurant, making like picking out the wine. Like there's a wine sommelier, like that guy rocks, and there's
Right.
like someone who's like in charge of like the salads, and that girl is like fantastic at what she does there. And then there might be someone who is like I'm in charge of all the hosts at the
Mhm.
restaurant, and they're great. So I think that's what it is. I'm like a chef. This is my restaurant, and I have people who work in the restaurant,
Yeah,
and
you need the
and,
sous
I, and
chefs, you need the
yeah, it doesn't
yeah.
exist without them, because if it was just me, I would just be air frying some chicken nuggets, and yeah,
Yeah, you just have these ideas of the, steak tartare,
yes,
but no way to I love that. That's
no
a
way to
great
execute
metaphor.
it. So
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah, so there are these people though that are like in very important to like the thing, but if one of them can't be a part of it, the restaurant still stays open.
right. Because you're still there, but if you leave, then everybody just kind of, you know,
Without sounding
it's
like a
kind of the end
total
of Michigander.
douchebag, that's yes, that's
No, no, that's a. I
yeah,
mean, it is because I know you're very interested in the business side of entertainment, and
I
as am I,
am.
and I think it's
Yeah,
fascinating. But like, I mean, it's the same thing with an athlete, musician, a comedian, like especially something like comedy is it's all like the comedian, and then in your case similar, um, or just like there is the Jason, you know,
yeah,
uh, but there's this whole team helping you out, especially when you start going up in levels. You get like I was thinking like athletes. You get your personal trainer, you get your agent, get your
yeah,
manager, you get your some chef, and you're the product,
right,
and their job relies on your success. They want you to be successful too, so they can like the success hinders on your success and them
big
helping you
time.
to. It's really fascinating, like the dynamic of that. And I'm sure and you have way more experience in it than I do. I am, all the hats. But that is definitely when you get to a certain level, the perks of having
Yeah,
an agent.
right. It's but there's always this mind like it's weird. In like the last week, I've had this conversation with two like other musician friends. Is like they're like, "What do I do to be where you are?" And I'm like, first of all, I'm nowhere. I'm like
Yeah.
still so like in the grand scheme of things, like I am so not there yet. I have not
Yeah.
arrived, and I'm going to argue the fact that no one really ever arrives unless you're like Beyonce
Yeah.
or something. But I'm not gonna be that, and no, like most people aren't gonna be that. So like coming to terms with that and being like, how do I exist right now? How do I be happy right now with where I'm at instead of having this like grass is always greener mentality, which is not wrong to have. I always have that. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've had that. I'm sure every one of my
Always.
friends has had
Ru-
that. Be like, well, if I only could get this one thing. It's like, well, what happens when you get that thing? What comes after that? Like once you get to the top of the mountain, you'll see another mountain and you're like, "Oh, I want that one now." And you have to go down the mountain to get up the next mountain.
No, it never
And
truly ends.
it never stops. It never stops. And I have these friends who are like, "I'm thinking about quitting. I'm thinking about doing this. I don't want to do music anymore." It's like, "Man, you just have to do what makes you happy and do it on your and if you can, do it. Awesome. If it can be your job, congrats. Good luck though."
I'm
And
I'm gonna say
you know,
something that might be more pretentious than the chef
let's go.
metaphor.
Let's
I'm gonna
hear
make
it.
my own pretentious metaphor.
I'm ready for it.
The people who climb the most mountains are the
Hmm.
people who enjoy hiking.
Yeah, that's great.
That sounded better in my
Stealing.
head.
No, that's good. I'm stealing that, Spencer. I'm
I
stealing.
listen, if I give you something today, that is all I can ask for.
I'm
But I mean
stealing that 100%.
it's true. You got to enjoy the grind of it because it is there's so many hard aspects to it, and so much of it that is grueling. And if you
Right.
don't like the process of sitting down, writing a song, creating the song, going out, getting just more comfortable on stage, going and getting as much stage time as you can, driving to all these fucking like this Wednesday and Thursday, I'm gonna be out in like way western Kansas performing for like
Ugh.
probably a bunch of old people. Like
Yes, but
it's
you're
gonna
doing it.
be
You're like you're putting the time in,
yeah, but you
and
got to
even
enjoy
if you
it.
get right, even when you get to a point where you're like selling a couple hundred tickets in Detroit or like in Chicago and Kansas City, you're still gonna have to play those shows in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, or
Yep.
Branson, Missouri, where no one cares about what you're doing, and you just like that's just part of it. And to like it's been just such an interesting week hearing the so many people talking about their church like at the same time being like what do I even do, and I say like if you can't handle it now you're not going to handle it later, because
Yeah.
I was arguing this point that like once you have it, it feels so good. But what feels way worse is when you lose it, and you
Yeah.
always will lose it. Because I just heard Tom Hanks say this in some interview. He says like, "Yeah, this sucks, but like, give it time. This too shall pass," is what he says.
Hmm.
And he's like, "Give it time, and it'll be better." But also, when you have the good times, and you finally think you're understood, and you finally think you're like breaking through, and you think you have that moment, that's also going to pass too. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't the cloud 9 mountaintop experiences don't last forever.
No, it's
I
all.
feel fired up right now.
No, dude, me too. It's I mean, talking about this stuff, talking about the business of what you're in and the nature of it. I mean, this is, something that I've poured the past almost 4 years of my life into. So it's like almost like a fifth of my life. You've poured, I mean, a majority of your life into, these endeavors. And I mean, all I do is just sit and think about stand up, and then I do my homework, and then I just
Right.
am doing whatever, and I'm thinking about stand up and what's the next step, and where am I at, and how do I improve, and
Totally.
what's the progression like, and what should it look. I mean, it's all that goes through my head.
Yeah. Totally.
It's But yeah, I think that's exactly it. You got to enjoy putting in the work. People that don't put
Yeah.
in the work, people that don't enjoy the work, it's fleeting. um
Yeah. Big time.
Fuck, I have no idea. I wrote down some questions. By the way, hilarious that you mentioned the show in Branson, Missouri, and Arkansas, because I was like, I feel like he's gonna bring these up. I was like, I feel like at some point these are gonna get referenced. I read a couple interviews you already did when I was like writing all the
Oh,
shit
cool.
for it, and I was like, I remember you talking about the one in Arkansas being like a straight up hell gig.
It was horrible. I'll never forget it. And apologies to anybody who ever hears about it, but it was the worst. It was just the worst time.
Oh, I love it.
Worst time.
I love it. I think worst. I mean, there are some shows where just nobody's there, and those suck.
Those aren't always the worst though.
Yeah, because it's like nobody's let down. Like there's
Right.
nobody there to be upset at this. But I did a show. I was 7, 8 months in, which meant that I was doing about 5 minutes, which meant I had about 42 seconds of actual material.
Yeah.
And I was asked to do a show at a retirement home.
Holy moly.
But when I got there, it was borderline hospice. It was like half a step before hospice.
Oh no,
It was
dude.
like last exit before the last
That
exit,
sucks.
Dude, it was. And I'm a, grew up a young Jewish fella,
Uh-huh.
in Omaha, Nebraska, where there's like 4 Jews and I live with all of
Yes.
them.
Uh-huh.
And there's a giant wall of crosses,
Oh.
and they were like, no cursing, no, maybe innuendos if they're relatively clean, no dirty talk. And I was like, well, my opening bit is comparing my teenage dick to an old man's dick, so this is not going to go over well.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
And I did
Not
10
the old
minutes.
man dick, but the situation.
No, but both sound equally
Yes.
treacherous.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just gonna try this, and if it doesn't work, then I'm just gonna free ball it. And it was just 10 minutes of horrified, wrinkly faces.
That is nuts.
And
I can't I literally can't imagine how terrible you must have felt.
oh, it was. I just at some like halfway through it, I was like, you know
How,
what? There's nothing I can do to change this. Then I went home, told my parents about it, and my dad was like, "What's?" He asked the name of the place, and I told him, and he said, "Okay, don't say that you know me because they're one of my clients."
oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah,
What a
that was a hell
nightmare.
gig. That was a fun one.
Terrible.
Um, all right, what else did I want to talk about? I guess we could get into the stuff that you're working on now. I had a couple of questions, but we can get to those later because I don't want to not talk about all the shit you have on your plate coming up. So, um, you got EP coming out, some new music.
Hmm.
You have the single on that, Super Glue. Um, which is, I mean, again, just a fun song to listen to.
Thank
Like
you.
it just, if you're listening to this, you can pause this and stop listening and just go listen to Super Glue.
Right.
Because it is, I mean, it's a fun, it's just a good song. I don't know. You
Thanks,
just
man.
write fucking fun songs to listen to.
I think I write some though.
Yeah.
I write a lot of songs, but the ones very few of them are good. And so the ones that are good make it through, and the ones that I release, I think are good, but the ones that there's so much crap before the good stuff gets there,
Oh yeah.
which I'm
Oh, we
sure
can.
you also can relate to that. Yeah, we could go down that
Oh
rabbit hole for hours.
yeah, we can circle back to that at the end. But before we do, so new music coming out. What on this EP? Uh, I guess is there anything on this one that makes it any different than the previous three you've done, or anything that you're most excited for regarding this one that you haven't felt on the others?
Yeah, this is the first time I worked with a different producer. I've always worked with one guy for a
Nice,
long, long time, and we thought this is my fourth and like final EP. You know, there's gonna be like a full length after this.
good for you.
So thanks, and we're just kind of getting to a point where it's like I want to try something new. So I went to California. So I've always recorded in like a small random little town in Michigan with the same guy always, but this time we went from that to going to Los Angeles, working with a, a different producer, working in like a commercial space,
Nice. Was
like
Sound City closed? Were you able to get into
no,
Sound
we
City?
went to Sunset Sound, and
Okay.
in it's like where Prince recorded everything, and the Beach Boys and
Oh,
everything. So it's like
nice.
legendary. It's like a place we've always dreamed of going. And in one room, like we were working on our little songs, and in the other room was this guy named Rufus Wainwright, who was
Okay.
yeah wildly big, massive star. And then in the other room there was there was this indie pop new artist called Miley Cyrus in the other room, and she was working on her songs that are coming out right now, like that Flowers song and stuff. She's working on that while we were in
Whoa,
there. So like
that's a little cool.
that song was being worked on while I was working on like Super Glue in like the other room, and that's just so weird to me. Like that was like so different than going from working in a friend's house to working in one of the biggest studios, or like one of the most famous studios in the world. And
Wow.
to be there was really inspiring, and it just like no shade to working on stuff with your buddies and working on stuff in your friends' houses and working on stuff where you're from, but it was cool to do something different, you know.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
it felt really it felt like it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about the music I'm making. It made me a lot more confident in what I'm doing,
I love that.
and I think it was a necessary step to where I'm like what I'm gonna do next. So it just felt really cool.
I mean, yeah, the change of scenery thing, and especially going to somewhere where it's, more of a hub of whatever you're doing. Like, I know you moved down to Nashville. So, like, you moved down to Nashville and then you're recording songs in California. Like, that's kind of an
Yeah,
echelon of musician.
yeah, just kind of it's kind of a mind fuck in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
um, like it's just weird to like go from like being in Michigan, doing my thing the way I've always done it, to like moving to a different city and a state and working with a ton of different people I've never worked with before. And it really pushed me outside my comfort zone. Um, and I'm really fortunate that I got to do it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
And I think the other thing is it's cool to look back on what, 15-year-old Michigander was sitting
yeah,
there thinking of. This is God, if I could hit this level. Like, I remember my first open mic, I kept hearing people, he runs this show, he runs that show, he runs this show. And I was like, these guys all run like comedy clubs, or Dave Chappelle would pop in and that kind of thing.
uh huh,
And that's not what it is. But then I started running and then once I realized what it was, I was like, oh, this is still the coolest thing. Like, they run a show. And then
totally.
now I'm running my own show. And it's like, I'm working at a comedy club, and it's like little Spencer would have never thought that this was a thing you could do, and now it's just like another stepping stone.
What's crazy is like give yourself 4 more years, and then
Oh,
you'll think about right now, and you'll go, ha! I like you like that's me every couple years is thinking like thinking I know what I'm doing. I got it somewhat figured out. And then like a
mhm.
year or two later, like maybe even a couple 6 months later, going like, "Oh my god, I had no idea what I was doing." And I'm sure you've already experienced that. and it just is very humbling to know like every couple years you just will experience that again, which means you're like growing as a person, and you're probably getting better at what you do because you've stuck to it and you put the time in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the progression is, if you can appreciate the work, and if you enjoy putting in the work, then appreciating the
Right.
progression that you make, uh, it's that much better. What
Totally.
have what have kind of been some of the like levels of like, man, when I was like 5 years in, I thought this, and then being 7 years in, I was like, oh, that's totally different than like 15 years in. I was like, what the fuck were those two talking about?
That's so good. Um, wow. Let me think about that.
I'm trying to ask questions that like, because I feel like a lot of the press you'll probably be doing is like a magazine article writer, which is like, no shade on them, but I'm like, I want to get to the questions where they're like, fucking
Yeah.
hey, that was a
Huh. I think that is like, um, every couple years I go through this thing where like I okay, here's an example. Lollapalooza 2021.
cool.
I play Lollapalooza.
Oh,
We walk on stage. Oh, well, we're like get there. You know, it's like one of the biggest, most important days of my life so far at that moment, or I think.
mhm.
And I'm like, this will be cool. We're playing Lollapalooza. Foo Fighters are playing later. You know, like we're gonna play Band of Horses. Like, it's just cool. And all that to say is like that was awesome. And we walked on stage, and I was like, "Oh, it'd be cool if 500 people showed up to see us. That would be amazing." And there was 10,000 people,
God damn.
and we walk out, and I go, "Oh, I wasn't expecting this." And it wasn't even like right when we walked out. It was just like by the second song, there were 10,000 people.
Holy
So
shit.
like I walked out, and there was thousands, but then like by the end of the set, like the crowd went all the way to the road into the trees. Like you couldn't see it.
My God.
And it was just like I've dreamt of this my entire life since seeing like Paul McCartney play this or like Coldplay play this on and like been watching videos from this for like years. And the fact that I get to be here and do this on a stage where like the 1975 have played years prior, like their first time playing Lollapalooza, same set time, same set, same stage.
Wow.
And so like to see that was like, oh, we're gonna like this is working. And to be on that stage and think like I'm a badass, I've arrived. But then walking off
Yeah.
stage and like breaking down crying, being like, how did that happen? And then a year later from that being like watching the videos and going, we weren't that good. Like we are way better now than we were. It's every tour is like that, is like because we usually the kind of the thing of touring now is basically like we'll go out for a month doing our own shows, headlining coast to coast. And then another point of the year, we'll go out for a month supporting a bigger act like Manchester Orchestra. And that's kind of the flow we're trying to get into. So, like, we
Great.
support, we headline, and that just helps build your own thing. And, um, and just building it over the years, we'll just continue to grow it. And the problem is like every tour, you look back and there might be a video or there might be like just you just can get the feel and you'd be like, oh, we weren't good then. We
Yeah.
like there were times like probably when even before Lollapalooza where I was like, we're ready. I bet you we could play SN. We're not going to play Saturday Night Live, but like if we were to play SNL, I was like, we're ready to go. We could do this. We're that good. We were not that good. We're like arguably still not that like good enough to play Saturday Night Live.
But then the crazy thing is like, because like I've had that too, where I go, man, I had a great set and ovation, and people were like, that was fantastic, and then I look back and I'm like, ah, that was I mean mediocre. It was fine, but then you got to go like, okay, there was something there that the
Yes,
audience connected to. So you go like, okay, it's less about objectively it wasn't that good, and it's more relative. I've come so far, but that was still a very good show.
you're
You
just
know?
refining your taste. Your taste is just getting better, and
Yeah.
you've tricked your audience. You've led your audience in a way of thinking like what you delivered to them was great. And There are bands that are really good at that. There's comics that are really good at that. But like, you can be better, and I can be
Oh
better.
yeah.
Everybody can get better, and it's just that whole thing of just like doing it and realizing like, yeah, that was good. I think I absolutely hate is talking about the set we played right after we played the set. And all the guys love doing that. They love being in the van, like, oh, that part was cool, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I just want to be like, shut up. I don't care about that. Like, we just played a show. It was good. We could always do better. If it was great, if it was great, cool. But like, I don't know.
No, I get it. I totally get it. Um, this is something that you mentioned, and I think it's a, I don't know, just personally an interesting question, which I kind of just, most of these questions have been free will in it. So I try to just ask questions that interest me and hopefully the audience,
Yeah.
follows me with it. Um, so you said you'll do, touring by yourself and then touring with a band and then going back and forth and kind of doing both.
Yeah.
And then obviously improving, try to improve each time you do each.
Right.
What is the difference between the lessons you learn headlining a month of gigs versus the lessons that you learn of like opening or working with another band for a month? Like, is there a difference between what you'll pick up from each one?
Well, yeah, definitely. The one thing I learned on the Manchester Orchestra tour, because that was the first time we did like 6 weeks with them. So it was every
Wow.
night we were opening.
Wow.
And the thing I learned about that tour was you have to. We don't deserve to be there. Like we don't deserve to be on that stage. We aren't bringing 100 plus people into that room every night. Um, like we aren't. We're not bringing that many people in. We
Yeah, you're not the
are
draw.
No, we're not the draw. They are doing us a favor by us being like letting us play in front of however many people are there. Like some nights there was like it was packed right when we got there, but some nights like we're the first band, so not everybody's there yet. We
Right. They're
don't
getting
des-
drinks. They're,
right.
oh, I got to go take a piss.
They
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
merch. They're saying, "Who's this band? This guy sucks. Like, what's Drew Carey doing up there playing guitar?" Like they're like, what is going on? Why is this guy making me sing? Why, like, I don't want to do this. This sucks. Like that is a mentality that I have when I see an opening act. I judge them
Yeah.
hardcore. I say, nah, not for me.
Right.
But there are people who connect with it. I think that's why we are talking. Because you found my band at a show,
Yeah.
and the thing that I told the guys every night on that tour is we have to earn that crowd.
Mm.
We don't deserve the crowd. We have to earn it. That we have to play to them as if this is the last show we'll ever play. In which there was a time where we thought, like, like because of COVID, we were playing all these
Yeah.
shows and it was great, and then we didn't play shows for like 2 years. And so and I remember the first show back was like one of those parking lot shows, and was like, we need to play this
Yeah.
show like it's the last show we're ever playing, and it felt so good. It felt so good to like play those shows and like it just felt good to do that. And so now that's the mentality because like we don't deserve to open for anybody. We don't like we take that we don't take that for granted. But we also now even for our own shows is we don't deserve the fact that there's going to be like 1,000 people showing up to see me in Detroit. Like that's
Right.
crazy. That is crazy that 1,000 people are going to show up. They bought tickets months in advance and made plans and got
Wow.
hotels because they want to see the songs. And we have to earn that because these people are spending, 20, 25 bucks on a
Dude.
ticket, parking, and they're buying the hotels and they're driving in and they're eating out dinner. Like that's a moment for a lot of these people. Like they don't,
That's
you know?
That's the mentality. I see so many people that don't have that mentality and they don't care. Like, dude, my show that I run is $5 a ticket. Like the most we ever get is like 50. Lowest we've ever gotten is 20, which is like for an
That's
like an
great.
indie comedy show. Yeah,
That's
I'm very
great.
proud of it. And a lot of work. Like I print off like 2,500 business cards with all the info and walk around the main street in Lawrence handing them out for like
That's amazing.
hours and hours before the week or before the week before the show.
Yeah.
But I go like, listen, these people are paying, it's not much, $5 isn't that much, but they're taking time out of their Friday, Saturday night. They are putting that money towards me and towards these performers. and it's a lot of college students. We don't have a ton of money floating around, so they're spending their money. They're taking time out to come see my show, and these are just people who are like in Lawrence and want to like have fun on a Friday night.
Right.
I can't imagine at a level like yours where it's like, dude, these people are like legit making a fucking, they're driving in whatever weather they might get. They're
Right.
they're but you got to appreciate, like, you did this for me and now it's my time to return the favor. That's absolutely the right mentality to have.
Yeah, so that's just where I'm at now. Is like that's the thing I'm learning. I'm also learning just being like to really trying to like lean into like this being the same person I am in all areas because there is like this like stage guy a
Hmm.
little bit, and I'm trying not to have that. I'm trying not to have my radio voice in like this
Right.
conversation, and I'm trying not to have my TV voice or whatever. So I'm like thinking I'm just like wanting to earn what I have been very fortunate to have. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think if you and I think the I don't know if irony is the right word, but it's like everything you've gotten, all these thousand people coming to see you, you have earned that.
yeah,
And
in a
but
way,
the men
yes, yeah,
Yeah, but the mentality of I need to, continue to earn that and to have build that relationship with my fans, that every time that they come to see me, they know they're getting a good show. Um, it just means that you're on the right trajectory. I think that's all that means, is you're just, the mentality is there for to keep building a fan base that comes back every year you're there.
yeah. That's like it's a scary thought because like, what if they don't come back? What
Hmm.
if they don't like the songs that are coming out? And I've been there with bands. I'm sure you've been there with things too. It's like you liked their music and then they changed everything, and then now it's not the same kind of art that you were getting before. So how do
See,
you?
my problem is I'm a big classic rock guy, so all of it's retroactive. So I'm like, I don't listen to Genesis post
Right.
1975's Wind in the Wuthering. And it's like, who the fuck cares, dude? Like, Phil
Yeah,
Collins is pretty much dead man on stage at the moment. Like, the guy can barely sit up straight, let alone, play drums. Like,
totally.
but I get what you're saying. I absolutely do. And there's a part of me that always goes like, I think as the fame increases and all that things, I am at like, relative to if we just put music and stand up at the same thing, like I am at such a lower level, and go I obviously want to keep increasing and keep climbing up the ladder, but it
Hmm.
is nice to be just, and I hear comedians say this all the time, it's kind of nice to be the opening act. It's kind of
Yeah,
nice to be the guy where nobody knows who you are, their expectations are very low, and you get to come out and surprise them. You get to come out like in Lollapalooza and have, 1,000, 2,000 people there, and then watch it grow fivefold
yeah.
because the expectations were blown away.
I love being the opening act because you get to like for the Manchester tour it was like we show up late because we don't have to sound check late, can sleep in, and then from there we quickly do our thing where I don't know, we just do things as quick as possible, and then we play the show, we load out, and then we just go and get to explore the city a little bit, get a good
Yeah.
meal, watch Ozark on my iPad in the green room.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like, when you're the headline, if you're the headline, like if you're Manchester Orchestra and somebody doesn't like your opener, yeah, they're gonna still come see Manchester Orchestra. Like, if you don't have that great of a set, obviously you're disappointed in yourself, but in the grand
right,
scheme of like the headlining tour, like, they're gonna come back and see him again, and
totally,
not having that pressure of like, because if Manchester Orchestra doesn't have a good show, people won't go back to see them again.
right, yeah,
Dude, this has been a lot of fun.
yeah, man, it's been great.
I'm uh God, I've a few musicians I've had on here. Just fucking love talking to you guys, because it's comedy adjacent, like it's still entertainment, still writing,
Showbiz,
creating, performing. Yeah, it's showbiz, and it's
showbiz.
I love it. Um, all right, so where can, I guess I'll pull up the dates. I'm gonna rattle them off. Social media wise, where can people find you, find your music, if they want to follow you, if they want to listen, where can they get all of that good stuff?
All the socials are at Michigander Band on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. All that. is at Michigander Band, and then the tour dates and everything are at michiganderband.com.
Yeah, he's gonna be all over the country. Going from March 28th to April 29th. It's gonna be in Phoenix, San Diego, LA, Berkeley, Portland, Seattle, Boise, Salt Lake, Boulder, Casey, St. Paul. Don't know why that gave me trouble. Chicago, Detroit, hometown show. Cleveland, Washington D.C., NYC, NY, Boston, Philly, Columbus, Atlanta, ending in your current hometown of
Nashville.
Smashville.
We love
Um,
it.
yeah, and just I mean, I'm definitely gonna go to the show April 11th in Kansas City.
Sick.
So, uh, yeah, dude, thank you. I'll do my social media stuff real quick. The podcast or me. Hi, everybody. I'm the talking head on most of these. Spencer underscore Gordman on Instagram and TikTok, or just Spencer Gordman on Facebook. And then the podcast on their way up. Obviously, you're listening to it right now. Please subscribe wherever you're listening. If you want to listen to more, you can go back and listen to some of the other interviews. I've had some interesting guests on, so if you want to go back and give those a gander, I really appreciate it. Nebraska gander, I guess.
Nebraska Gander.
And then follow the Instagram and Twitter for when podcasts come out, who's going to be on them, and clips possibly in the future. And go see a goddamn show.
See the
All
show.
the go see a show. Go see Jason and his band do their thing. You're gonna absolutely get every cent out of paying the price of admission. It is you just yeah. I'm excited to see
I
you.
gotta I gotta
People should see you.
add, our my
Yes.
really 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 good friend Abby Holiday is opening all the shows, and she's fantastic. So if everyone be there early.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
go support your opening acts.
yes,
If nothing else during this, go support your openings, your openers. Opening is a tough gig. It's a vital gig for the show to run smoothly. Like there's a purpose, but it is still kind of like I had a friend of mine open for Theo Vaughn in Nebraska for like a 1,800 seat theater.
uh-huh.
It's like the first time. I mean, he'd been doing comedy clubs and that kind of thing, and he was like, the whole thing is just people are sitting down getting food, like the whole thing. Like
Yeah,
it is a grimy set, but it can be a lot of fun. So yeah, go
yeah.
support your openers.
Abby
Go
is
support
great.
Abby, right?
Abby
Yeah,
Holiday. Yeah,
go watch Abby Holiday. Dude, thank you so much again for being on. This was a blast. Congratulations on all the success and continued wishes on keep fucking maybe don't hike as much.
not gonna hike. No more hiking.
Yeah, we didn't even touch that, and
That's
that's
okay.
okay. Oh, the new music video for the single though does go into it. So if you kind of want
Yes.
to, yeah, and it's a. By the way, I was watching that at my job today, like cracking up. Like it is
Oh,
genuinely a
good.
hilarious music video.
Good.
It's like tragically fun, but it is the way it's put together is very very funny. So,
Thanks, Spencer.
dude, thank you. And thank you everybody for listening or watching and enjoying the podcast. Have a good rest of your day.